Last episode we promised you an engine swap into our FRS, and boy do we have a surprise for you.
Whoa. This is my 2J, and it is not going into the FRS. I've saved it for our BMW project, which I'll get to hopefully sometime later in the fall, but this thing is gone. No way. And what we have, and I should say, I mentioned last episode we would be doing a different engine swap, and by different I meant different FRS FA20 engine. So we're gonna get to it and hopefully finish this thing up in record time.
So before we go through all the effort of putting this engine in the FRS, we wanted to compression check it on the ground. So we've threaded the OTC compression checker into the engine here, and we're gonna just fire it up and see what kind of reading we get. One million PSI.
We just finished compression testing the engine, and one of the back cylinders is just a little bit low. We're not too concerned about it because it's a cold engine right now, but just to be on the safe side, we decided to bust out the old OTC cylinder leak down tester, and we hooked it up and we tested it, and it looks like we have about a 2% leak down ratio, which is actually really good. There you go. This one's reading 88 PSI, this one's reading at 90, so we're at 2%.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought this engine swap was gonna be really tedious, but after we figured out that we could leave the transmission in the car and just pluck the engine out, it didn't seem like that much work. A perfect starting point to any engine swap is draining both the oil and coolant. Bonus points though if you don't make a mess.
Whoa. Jesus, man. What's going on here?
Let's just depressurize it.
Yeah.
Since we may have an intercooler coming in the near future, the Perrin oil cooler that served us so well sadly had to be removed. The trick with the fuel lines is that they're held in place with a plastic quick disconnect that Subaru recommends you remove with a special tool. However, a thin screwdriver can accomplish the job by pressing on the tabs and gently pulling the fuel line towards you. I have to say that having a main engine harness disconnect makes this job so much easier. There's no fiddling with scores of sensor connectors and sub-harnesses. Rather, you just disconnect those two main plugs, a few small connectors, the alternator, the engine starter harness, all of which are easily accessible, and that's it for wiring. While you're on the back side of the engine, now is a good time as any to remove the clutch slave cylinder. After that, we crawled underneath the car and removed their JDL header. Then there were some rad hoses that took about 4 hands to pry off, but soon afterwards, we were ready to extract the engine. The most taxing part here was getting the engine to slide off the 2 lower studs that hold it onto the transmission.
More gap up top, I think, than the bottom.
So that's our try going down the back, down the side.
We did some prying, some twisting, and finally it gave way.
Yep.
Please wash it.
It certainly saved us a ton of time not having to remove the transmission, so just keep that in mind if you're doing this same job.
The engine is officially out of the FRS, and it was a surprisingly easy job. I would say it only took us about an hour or so. The trickiest part was just getting it off the dowels on the transmission side. Other than that, the harness comes apart really easily, the fuel lines came off really cleanly. So the way they designed this, it's actually super easy to get out. To pop the engine out in an hour was surprisingly quick. So happy to have it out, and now we can start moving some things over onto the new engine.
Speaking of new engines, this one certainly didn't look like it, but a quick wash would take care of that.
Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always feel clean.
Our spec clutch took a pretty severe beating at Targa Newfoundland, so we've decided to swap in a fresh clutch disc, and we've gone with the 2+ disc this time, which is slightly milder than what we went with last year, but we love the way the 2+ feels in our S2000, so that's why we chose it for the FRS this year. So now that that's in place, we've got our tilter on here, we're ready to go and bolt this sucker in the engine bay.
Bro, push it forward, eh? Watch out for the radiator.
It's pretty amazing how much space is in the engine bay and how freely we can move the FA20 around in there. This helped tremendously when we had to line up the engine with the transmission's input shaft. We did, however, use the starter bolts to help us guide the input shaft into the clutch. But if you're doing this, remember to always make sure you have slack, because tightening the bolts when the shaft isn't lined up with the clutch can destroy it very quickly. With the engine and trans being one unit again, we began hooking everything back up and gave Dave the dirty job of bolting the header back on, which, judging by all his moans and sighs, I think he enjoyed it a little bit too much.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, twice. We're going for 3.
Oh, man, we're good, we're good.
We've got the engine back in the engine bay, we're just buttoning it up, and it's time to do an oil change. So let's get this wrecking yard, nasty, dented, smashed TEC Select. Oh no, maybe that's a Toyota filter. No, maybe it's not. Anyway, that's gone. In with our K&N filter. Not gonna lie, we're taking this off the other engine, but we just had done an oil change, so the filter has no miles on it basically. Now she goes. Time to put some oil in there. Time to fill her up with our favorite motor oil, Valvoline Full Synthetic in a 5W20, because that's what this engine asks for. So, here we go. Bam. Not a drop spilled. The only job I'm good at. I used to have a funnel that had a screen in the bottom of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
But we don't.
Bro!
So this rag technique here, what are you doing here?
Well, Pete, we're reusing coolant because we're complete amateurs.
No, I disagree with that. You can reuse coolant.
Yes,
Dandelions in there.
but there's a lot of dandelion fluff in the coolant that you can probably see there, along with random dead bugs, other kind of organic material, as Peter was calling it. It's like, don't worry, bro, we can put that in the engine. It's organic.
I maintain that could go in the engine.
But Ken and I disagree. We think that should not go in the engine. So we're using a shop towel to filter the coolant. And it's actually working pretty well. It's slow, but it works.
Taking up too much time, I don't like it.
Slow, but it works kind of describes Peter and I too, and to some extent Ken, but he saves lives for a living, so we won't be too hard on him.
So, we just finished topping up the fluids. I'm gonna start the car, and hopefully everything works.
Won't get shot in the face with fluid or coolant or oil. Let's fire it up.
All is well. We just ran the engine for about 15 minutes, bled the coolant system, no leaks.
Yeah, amazing.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
The engine install, swap I should say,
Yeah.
was super easy. One of the easiest I've done in a while.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with 3 guys, it went really quick. I think now that we've done it once, we could have this motor in and out in a couple of hours.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty amazing. So kudos to Subaru and Toyota for designing a Lego style car that comes together and goes apart really nice.
And thanks to Ken, he's off in the loo right now.
Yeah,
But he helped us out a ton.
he did. He's defusing a bomb. And speaking of bombs, we are going to make a whole bunch of horsepower with this bad boy in the next episode.
Very soon, with some forced induction coming from some company that I will not mention.
That's right. We're very subtle here at Speed Academy.